Hello, everyone. Welcome. I have some more cards to show you that I created with the Not Too Shabby's card box of the month for August. This one, again, is called Artsy Girls, and I'm going to make up a few mini Slimline cards today. I did an unboxing of this kit in a previous video, and I will link to that at the end of this video. Today, I'm going to focus on the fun stencil that came in the kit. Let me pull this out so you can get a better view of it. It's a really fun brush stroke stencil. You have a brush stroke heart and lots of little places where you could put sentiments. You also get a brush stroke square. It comes with the positive pieces too, if you want to ink blend around the brush strokes. I'm also going to be using the 2 stamp sets for most of these cards, as well as the pattern paper and the ephemera. So I guess it's the whole kit that I'm dealing with in this video today, but it's a super fun kit. On card number 1, I'm going to do some ink blending with some salvage patina using the heart brush stroke stencil. And this stencil is kind of delicate, so you have to pounce the ink on. You don't want to pull up any of the sharp corners of the brush strokes. Let me speed this up. It did take a little bit to color this in or ink it in. But let me lift this up and show you the reveal. It's so adorable. Look how pretty that is. I'm going to take it one step further though. I wanted to put down a background of color because I'm going to be using some glitter glitz gel. Let me pull that out. This is teal. It's from Gina K. So let me open this up. I always use saran wrap around it so it doesn't go hard on me. I've had a few of these go hard and I just had to toss them. It was so sad. But this just keeps it moist. I'll stir it up and then I'm going to go right over the heart with this. The reason I put the ink down first is because this glitter glitz gel is really chunky and sometimes you can see the background through it. So I wanted there to be a color of teal behind it. I'm using a plastic palette knife just to smear this on, and you have to be kind of gentle so you don't scrape it back up. But this is just a really fun process. Once I have it evenly applied, I'll just scrape the excess off my palette knife and put that away. I'm going to wash this stencil right away so the glitter glitz gel doesn't harden on it. And it dries really fast. I would say I left this for an hour and it was done drying. So I fussy cut around this, and now we're going to start putting this card together. I also put some foam pieces behind it to pop it up off my card. My mini Slimline cards today all measure 6.5 by 3.5, and I'm going to use the Slimline pattern paper from this kit. I love this pattern paper, especially since it's in slimline form. So I'm going to put a piece of teal behind it, and I cut it down so it's a little bit smaller than my card base. And I'll attach this using some dot liner. This will give me a white border around the edges. And then the pink piece of pattern paper I'm going to attach down kind of on an angle. So I'll put more of the dot liner. When I published this video, the card box was still available. You can subscribe so you get a card box guaranteed every month, or you can buy it monthly. But you do get a little bit of a discount if you subscribe. I'll trim off the overhang, just very carefully. I don't want to cut into my white card base. And then I love the pink paper askew like that. Just looks really cute. I'm going to tape down my card. The mini Slimlines and the Slimlines really want to pop up, more so than the A2 sized cards. I'll peel off the backing from the foam adhesive and put the heart on next. And now for the sentiment. I'm going to use this stamp set. It's called Color My World. The sentiment is just one of the smaller sentiments. All it says is smile. And I'll stamp this onto a piece of white scrap paper cardstock. This is some VersaFine Onyx Black ink that I'm using. I'll cut it out with one of my sentiment dies that I just keep on my desk. I don't even remember where I got this, but I do have a few that I do keep right on my desk because I use them so often. This is my Sizzix mini die cutting machine. This is also something I keep right next to my desk because I use it a lot. And then here's this sentiment. It cuts out these cute faux stitches around it. And I love the font of that sentiment. I'll trim it down a bit, and then I'm going to glue everything down flat on this little heart. This is an ephemera piece. And now I can flip it over and put glue behind the sentiment and a little bit on the leaf. I made sure my leaf was covering the end of my sentiment. It just looked better that way. And then for the little pink tulip, I'll glue that down next to the leaf. I add a few teal-colored gems around this card. And here's a close-up look at the finished card. Isn't that fun? I love that brushstroke heart. On the inside, I use some more ephemera pieces. There are a lot in this kit, as well as a piece of the pattern paper. On to card number 2, I'm using a piece of Bristol Smooth cardstock on this because I'm going to use my Distress inks. I think the Distress inks blend a lot smoother on the Bristol Smooth. And this is just going to be a very pastel colored square brush stroke frame. The colors I'm using are Tumbled Glass, Salty Ocean, Picked Raspberry, and Spun Sugar. And I'm trying to get a smooth transition between these colors. Again, I'm going to fussy cut around this so I can pop it up on the front of my card. But these would make some really great one-layer cards. Isn't that pretty? I'm using another beautiful piece of pattern paper from the Slimline pack. And this is going to fit my card base. There's no white border this time. The brush stroke square was so large that I didn't have room for a white border. I think this card is the favorite of my trio. So I'm going to do a little bit of stenciling again. This time I'm stenciling out just one of the single brush strokes. This is where I'm going to stamp my sentiment. I'm using Salty Ocean and Tumbled Glass again. I want it to fade out to the right to a lighter blue. But here it is. I'm going to pop it in my mini Misty so that I can stamp it so it's not crooked. And I'll use some more VersaFine Onyx Black ink. I love this ink. I think I used this more than any other kind of ink. I'm going to fussy cut this out as well. But isn't that cute? This says, "You color my world." Next, I'm going to stamp up a few images. This time I'll use a Copic-friendly ink. This is Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink, and it's great to use when you're going to pull out your Copic markers. And this is a piece of 80-pound Neenah Solar White cardstock. When I know I'm going to be fussy cutting out some images, I like to use the lighter weight Neenah Solar White because it doesn't bend the paper as much when you're fussy cutting around these small images with your scissors. Okay, now on to some Copic coloring. I left the caps at the top if you're interested in seeing what colors I used, but this just takes a minute. These images are kind of small. So first, the tulip. I'm using R81, 83, and 85. The glass, I'm just using B000 just to put a little hint of blue. I don't want to color in the whole thing solid. I want it to look transparent. Now for some greens. And I'll use some blues and pinks on the tips of the brushes to look like paint. And then all of the handles of the brushes are going to be browns. I want the top of the handle of the brush to look gold, so I used a dark yellow and a light yellow to do this. And then at the top of the jar where the glass is thickest, I didn't add any shading to the brushes. I just colored them in with the lightest brown. There are so many cute little images in these stamp sets. I had fun with these. I wanted to add some more fullness to the jar, so I'm going to glue the tulip so that you can see it popping up from behind the brushes. This just gives it a cute touch. I love the flower in the jar with the brushes. Then I'll add the larger brush, and I put the glue on the wrong side there. I'll add a little bit to the front, and then this is going to be taller than the other brushes. And then my last image to glue on is this leaf. I really love how this image turned out. And now to put this card together. The brush stroke background I'm going to put down flat with some dot liner because I'm going to pop up the jar of brushes. I didn't want the card to have too much dimension. I think that looks so pretty on the blue pattern paper. And now for the sentiment, I popped that up with some foam strips. Let's pull off the backing from the foam pieces and pop that up inside the square. Isn't that just cute? And here's a close-up look. I used some of the enamel dots from the kit. And then on the inside, I used more ephemera and pattern paper. I think the soft pastel colors of this card are just pretty. And now for card number 3. I wanted to show you some craft cardstock and distress oxide inks. I'm using salvage patina again. The top one I stamped straight on the craft cardstock, but the bottom one I stamped first with some white pigment ink, and it made it so much brighter. So that's what I'm going to do on this card. I have all of my images ready to go on a piece of, this is called oatmeal cookie, and it's from Spellbinders. I love this kind of craft cardstock. It's nice and light in color. And then I can pick the images up with the door of the Misty. I have the paper glued down with some dot liner just to keep it in place. So first I'm going to stamp them out with this white pigment ink. I do stamp it out a couple of times, but I only show it once. And I stamped it up about 3 times. You don't need to wait for the pigment ink to dry before adding your color over it. At least that's what I found. So I'm starting with picked raspberry at the bottom. I'm just going right over the white lines. And this just makes it so much brighter on this craft cardstock. Isn't that cute? I'll wipe the ink off of the stamps so that I don't contaminate my yellow distress oxide ink. And then where they overlap, it turns orange. It's really cute between the pink and the yellow. I love that effect. So this is squeezed lemonade. Did you see the orange there? It's so much fun. I'll wipe the stamps off again. And this time I'm adding tumbled glass. And I do ink this up again with all 3 of the colors off camera. I just want it to be really bright. And here's the finished panel. Isn't that pretty? I'm using another piece of the Slimline pattern paper to cut out a strip of this bright pink paper to go across the card. And then I'll cut along the edge with a scalloped die. I believe these are from Lawn Fawn, this little set I have here. I'll use a small one. But I am going to tape this in place so it doesn't shift, and I'm trying to put it down level to the bottom edge. But this just adds a really fun touch. I'll keep that corner piece for the inside of the card. I'll take this off camera and cut it out. In addition to the scalloped edge, I'm going to put a little piece of blue pattern paper at the top edge. This will match the tumbled glass ink perfectly. I'm just using my paper trimmer just to cut a little slice off the top of this pattern paper. Then I'll glue this down flat, just the edge of it. And it just helps the pink pattern paper stand out that much more. I'm going to put some foam adhesive behind this, but first I want to cut it down to size. So I'm just carefully holding it in place and flipping it over so that I can cut off the overhang. It's easier to do while it's flat, of course, than after you have all of your foam adhesive on it. So let's peel off the backing and put this in place. I wanted my images to pop just a little bit more, so I'm using a white colored pencil. I'm not coloring in each image completely. I just want a little dash of white here and there. And the white just really shows up on this craft cardstock. I'll put a little bit on the cupcake, and then I do put some on the blue images as well, but I do that off camera. It helps them to stand out a lot more. And now the sentiment I stamped off camera, and it says, "Eat, sleep, create, repeat." I love that sentiment. And I fussy cut around it. I'll glue that down flat. This is another ephemera piece. I love the pink leaves. I'll have that go off the side of that strip of pink paper. Now for another green leaf. The paintbrush I'm using because it matched perfectly with the inks that I used, the blue and the pink. And then one more little flower at the bottom. I'm going to use some Trinity Stamps bling. I love these. These are called Fortune Teller, and they're just very subtle, but they're very pretty. I use these a lot. The pink heart tray I sell in my Etsy shop if you're interested. They come in many different colors, but I like it because the tip of it is handy to pour the beads back into the little bags. I just keep all of my bling stored in the bags they came in. And now let's attach this to another white card base. I'll have all of the links listed below in the description box for the products that I use to create these mini slimline cards. And I'll have a link to the Not Too Shabby shop as well, so you can check out their new subscription card box. Here's a close-up look at card number 3. I had so much fun putting these mini slimline cards together. Well, I hope you all enjoyed and were inspired by this video today. Thanks so much for watching. Take care. Bye.